So picture this. A man who once convinced millions of people that eating raw liver and sunning your balls could make you into a primal god is now spiraling so far out of control that he's staging fake arrests, calling Joe Rogan his bully, and crying about Netflix ruining his family. Yeah, the Liver King's downfall is one of the strangest influencer crashes we've ever seen. And it didn't happen overnight. It's been a slow, ugly, unraveling one that exposes just how fragile his empire really was. Not too long ago, the Liver King was an online phenomenon. This wasn't some slow burn to internet fame. He exploded almost instantly. His formula was simple: do what no one else would dare do. Bite into raw cow liver on camera, drag heavy chains barefoot across his lawn, preach the ancestral lifestyle like he had discovered the fountain of youth. He was ripped, jacked beyond belief, and he claimed it was all thanks to 9 ancestral tenets: eat, sleep, move, shield, connect, cold, sun, fight, bond. But the tenet he didn't mention? A pharmacy's worth of performance enhancers. At first, people were fascinated. He was outrageous, masculine to the point of parody, and he gave off this modern caveman vibe that made his videos addicting. But fascination quickly turned into suspicion. Because while his message was primal living, his body looked more like a superhero comic book than an actual human being. This was the beginning of the end. For months, people called him out, saying there's no way his body was natural, and every single time, he denied it with absolute confidence. He wasn't just dodging the question, he was aggressive, calling anyone who doubted him a hater, a bully, someone trying to tear him down. But then came the leak. Derek from More Plates, More Dates dropped the bombshell. Emails directly from the Liver King outlining his massive steroid use. We're not talking about a little TRT. We're talking tens of thousands of dollars a month in injections, HGH, and stacks that would make a bodybuilder blush. The entire internet lit up. It wasn't just that he was using steroids. It was that his entire empire was built on a lie. He sold supplements, lifestyle programs, and an entire philosophy based on his natural primal body. And it turns out the biggest tenet in his life wasn't liver, it was lies.
Unsubscribe to him and the vigorous other guy, and then everyone who unsubscribes, every single one, the millions, I'm going to donate the exact amount to a charity that does good. My fight is in principle. Bullying, I don't allow it. I don't allow big companies to bully. I'm fighting against bullying.
My name's Blow Slogan, yo. I'm a big bully and I'm untouchable. I can do whatever I want.
After being exposed, most influencers would lay low, maybe own up to the lie, pivot into new content, rebrand, but not Liver King. He doubled down. He tried to reinvent himself, turning from a caveman diet guru into something stranger, part mob boss, part cult leader, part motivational speaker. He started posting increasingly bizarre clips, drooling over raw meat like it was fine dining, delivering rambling speeches that made less and less sense. Fans weren't inspired anymore. They were concerned. The once shocking primal act now looked desperate. The more he tried to stay relevant, the more unhinged he appeared. And then came the Netflix documentary. For Liver King, this was supposed to be his redemption arc. He thought the cameras would show the truth that he wasn't a fraud, but a misunderstood visionary. He expected vindication, maybe even sympathy. Instead, the documentary showed exactly what everyone already suspected: a man so addicted to his own myth that he was willing to drag his family into the chaos just to keep it alive. Instead of redemption, he got ridicule. And the way he reacted made it even worse. He raged against the producers, called for boycotts of their other projects, claimed he was the victim of a conspiracy. He kept insisting that the film was unfair, but the irony is, if he wanted his story told differently, he had the money and power to make his own documentary. He didn't want honesty. He wanted validation. And when that didn't come, the meltdown only accelerated. For Liver King, this was supposed to be his redemption arc. He thought the cameras would show the truth that he wasn't a fraud, but a misunderstood visionary. He expected vindication, maybe even sympathy. Instead, the documentary showed exactly what everyone already suspected: a man so addicted to his own myth that he was willing to drag his family into the chaos just to keep it alive. Instead of redemption, he got ridicule. And the way he reacted made it even worse. He raged against the producers, called for boycotts of their other projects, claimed he was the victim of a conspiracy. He kept insisting that the film was unfair, but the irony is, if he wanted his story told differently, he had the money and power to make his own documentary. He didn't want honesty. He wanted validation. And when that didn't come, the meltdown only accelerated. Somewhere along the way, Liver King picked his main enemy, Joe Rogan. Rogan had joked about him on his podcast, pointing out the obvious steroid use, and that was enough to set Liver King off. Suddenly, everything became about the bully. He painted Rogan as this untouchable villain out to destroy him and his family. Never mind that Rogan rarely even mentioned his wife or kids in Liver King's mind. This was now a war. He framed it like a fight. Liver King versus the bully. He started ranting in videos, claiming he was defending his family's honor, that he was standing up to big bad corporations, that Rogan was the symbol of everything wrong with the world. It was delusional. What was once a silly internet beef turned into a personal crusade inside his head, and it made him look completely unhinged. As his obsession grew, his circle shrank. Friends who questioned him, cut off. Business partners who weren't yes men, exiled. Even his so-called best friend got the axe after refusing to fall in line. Instead, Liver King surrounded himself with people who would nod, laugh, and tell him he was right no matter what he said. The result? Even stranger behavior. He hosted bizarre gatherings where he preached about drinking barbarian water, basically blood in bottles, while his followers clapped along like he was a prophet. It was cult-like, and instead of bringing him back to reality, this echo chamber pushed him deeper into his own delusion. But nothing screams desperation more than what came next. In the middle of a Mario Kart session, he staged a fake arrest. Real cops, flashing lights, handcuffs, all of it part of a prank just to get another viral clip. And here's what's wild. Throughout most of that video, he sounded almost normal. But the second the fake cop showed up and the cameras were rolling, he turned the crazy act up to 100. Rambling, incoherent, acting like a madman for the sake of spectacle. Which raises the question, is this guy actually losing his mind, or is he just performing insanity because that's the only way he knows how to stay relevant? Eventually, Liver King announced that he was done making content, that he was stepping away from the spotlight, that he was finished. But almost immediately after, he went right back to posting nonstop. Videos, rants, clips. His feed didn't slow down for a second. This is the contradiction at the heart of Liver King. He wants to be taken seriously, but he can't give up the attention. He wants sympathy for being bullied, but he constantly pokes the fire himself. He says he's done, but he never really is. At this point, Liver King isn't building a brand anymore. He's living in a loop. Every outburst, every fake stunt, every meltdown, it's all just keeping him afloat in the news cycle for one more day. And sure, he's getting attention again. His views are up, people are talking about him, but not in the way he wants. This isn't admiration, it's morbid curiosity. People are watching the house burn, while he's still outside insisting it's worth millions. The sad part is, all of this could have been avoided. If he had just owned up to the truth early on, if he had put accountability into his so-called ancestral tenets, if he had chosen honesty over ego. But instead, he chose clout at all costs, and the cost is that now, his empire is built on ashes. So where does this leave the Liver King? Is he actually spiraling into madness, or is he just doubling down on the performance, playing a character so deeply that he can't escape it? Maybe both. Maybe the line between act and reality is gone, and all that's left is a man desperately trying to convince the world and himself that he's still the king of something. But here's the truth. He's not a king anymore. He's a cautionary tale, a reminder of what happens when ego, lies, and clout chasing collide. And the only real question left is this: is this the end of the Liver King, or just the beginning of his strangest act yet?